Previously on Film Noir.
I think the subject of my next investigation will be myself. From 2013 to the end of 2024, I watched over 950 films, 60 to 80 new experiences every year. I emphasize new experiences because when I first developed a stronger interest in entertainment, I began to prioritize watching movies I hadn't seen before at the expense of revisiting old favorites.
2013 was also the year that I started making logs of every film that I watched for the very first time. It felt good to hit big numbers at the end of every year, so that's probably why I stayed the course so long.
But a few years ago, it became more frequent that my queue of entertainment just wasn't scratching my itches, and I had trouble deciding what I wanted to review next. In my state of indecision, I would turn to the junk food of media consumption. Before I realized it, another day passed where I essentially did nothing, and I would kick myself over it.
Eventually, things got existential. You've done this before. Everybody knows you love talking about movies. Just take some notes and turn it into a script. Shouldn't be that hard.
You know what? Burnout happens a lot in the artistic field. It's okay. Maybe I just need a break.
Nope, can't do that either, because apparently I don't want to watch anything on here.
At this rate, maybe I should have quit YouTube years ago.
If trying to entertain myself isn't making me happy, then what will? Spiraling is not fun.
But when I hang my hat at the end of the day, I know that this media malaise is a symptom of the way I feel, not the root cause.
That's all I'm gonna say here. The rest is for my therapist.
Complex emotions aside, I still felt like there was something to learn here, so I spent some time re-examining my entertainment consumption habits and found some new perspectives that are helping me to enjoy myself more consistently. These are thoughts that I'm more than happy to share with my audience.
Partly because I've been writing this script on and off for a year and a half, and I refuse to let that amount of work go in the garbage. When I started this project, it was focused on the merits of revisiting movies, mostly because that was the direct opposite of my philosophy for the last decade plus. So much to see, so little time. Why spend time revisiting movies when there are so many out there that I haven't seen yet?
If I wanted to abandon a healthy and functional lifestyle to watch movies 24/7, I would have my work cut out for me. No longer are we limited by TV schedules, blockbuster shelves, and our personal collections. In the age of the internet, there is a staggering amount of entertainment options right at our fingertips.
During my college years, this worked out fantastically.
Not only had I just become an internet critic, I was now a student of film and media production.
My brain was primed to absorb that kind of knowledge. Broadening my horizons was a fulfilling experience unto itself.
I also felt that revisiting movies less often helped preserve the experience. The first viewing is usually the most exciting because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Generally, the more familiar I get with a movie, the less exciting it is to watch.
I consider this to be a slightly different version of a term I learned in high school acting, illusion of the first time. For us, the actors, it meant maintain enthusiasm in your performance as if you're putting on the show for the very first time.
It didn't matter that we'd spent most of the semester rehearsing this play and some of us were starting to get bored of it. If the actors didn't care, then neither would the audience.
Because movies are more or less the same every time we watch them, the principle gets reversed. It is now on the viewer not to overdo it on a movie, otherwise the extra awareness will weaken the illusion of the first time in the viewer's mind.
I learned that lesson the hard way. In my early teens, I had a Star Wars marathon with my grandpa and discovered that there is such a thing as too much Star Wars. After that, I didn't watch any of the movies again until I started reviewing them. To be clear, I never fully soured on Star Wars. I just learned that if I wanted to enjoy the films properly again, I needed a break.
To ensure that I had that break, focusing on movies I hadn't seen before seemed like the way to go. But over time, this approach became a double-edged sword.
Obviously, watching anything for the first time comes with a risk of disappointment, so it's no surprise that my yearly logs contain a fair number of movies I'm never going to watch again.
And because I usually only had one viewing to go on, my impressions of these movies were often very fleeting and swept aside by the next couple of things I watched.
And when I couldn't find new experiences that scratched my itches and occupied my time, I got bored, and therefore grumpy. After a while, I started to feel like I'd been stuck on vacation mode too long, overstimulated by new things and longing for the familiar comforts of home.
After reckoning with the amount of time I've given to movies I was only kind of interested in to begin with, I started to consider that there are advantages to revisiting movies.
1. They bring back good memories, both of the movie itself and what it feels like to have fun watching a movie. 2. There's less mental and emotional labor involved. Whether you're stressed out or just want to take it easy, a familiar movie can be relaxing or even comforting. 3. A repeat viewing is a chance to observe the same movie in a different way. By the time you're done, you might appreciate the movie even more.
When we were growing up, did we watch certain movies so many times because we were fond of them, or did we become fond of them because we watched them so many times? I think both are true.
A good first viewing sold me on a movie, while repeat viewings helped me to develop an appreciation for it. This is especially true when we're kids. My developing mind formed lasting impressions of movies my family owned on repetition alone. In some cases, it didn't even matter if I liked them that much.
When I got older and broadened my entertainment horizons, I started to put extra pressure on first viewings to blow my socks off. I would try to squeeze a fully formed opinion about a movie from my first impressions. Maybe I would make a short video about it, and then I would immediately move on to the next movie.
Generally, the most memorable and exceptional movies would still stand out, so things could have gone a lot worse. Even so, favorites aren't found in one viewing.
Love takes time, and love takes work.
Trying to get everything out of the experience of a movie in just one viewing meant that I spent less time developing a lasting affection for what I was watching.
It is extremely rare that I induct a movie into my mental Hall of Fame after watching it only one time. Even if I got up tomorrow and watched the best movie I'd ever seen, it would not eclipse my fondness for the movies I watched dozens of times as a kid.
To demonstrate my point, I've got to flip the coin on Star Wars because I haven't sustained my fandom for over 25 years just by watching the movies.
I had toys and books. I watched the DVD bonus features and making of documentaries. I nerded out with my friends. I fought those friends with plastic lightsabers. I endured the frame-by-frame grind of making a legit lightsaber video. Even when I was burnt out on the movies, I still sank my teeth into TV shows and video games.
In short, Star Wars remains firmly rooted in my brain because I spent time nourishing my enjoyment for it.
Reviewing a movie has a similar effect. I'm even less likely than usual to revisit movies if I've made long-form videos about them. But that's only because I spent enough time thinking about them. Even the bad movies are going to occupy a special corner of my brain forever.
Watching a movie one time might tell me whether or not I liked it, but understanding and appreciating it, that starts at the very least by watching it more than once.
In the early days of working on this script, I revisited some movies and TV shows as a sort of trial by fire. Though I did enjoy myself, I quickly realized that these trips down memory lane were not the cure to my media-related disillusion.
I had hoped that giving myself permission to look back would slow down the thought cycle that kept me constantly chasing new things. Alas, persistent thought patterns are hard to break.
Revisiting movies in the past has felt okay when I'm with friends and family, I want to hype myself up for a sequel, or I'm making a video about it. Sometimes those last two even went hand in hand. But to grab a movie off my shelf simply because I haven't seen it in a while, that kind of thing has to happen organically.
Even though I've had some practice, it's hard to fully quiet that inner voice that keeps telling me revisiting movies is a waste of time.
I also suspect that doing it to solve my emotional issues versus just trying to have fun, there's too much self-awareness at play for it to work effectively.
I can neither predict it nor force it. I have to be in the right place, at the right time, and most essentially, in the right mood.
Watch out for that last one, kid. It's a killer.
The fact that watching movies is both something I really enjoy doing and also a source of mild existential dread is a frustrating contradiction, and a big part of why I decided to make this video in the first place.
It took a lot of tinkering with this script to reach a conclusion I felt happy with. Thankfully, one of my all-time favorite movies pointed me in the right direction.
You gotta stop thinking. Just have fun.
I've had this one-and-done mindset for so long that even after the work I've been doing, it'll still take more time for me to change course. But I do know that revisiting movies can be enjoyable, and I want to be okay with doing it a little more often.
More importantly, though, this period of exploration has given me a lot of really good epiphanies about media consumption. I've shaped these into 4 principles, encouraging myself to stress less and get more consistent enjoyment from my entertainment. Question for the audience. When someone recommends a TV show or a movie to you, how do you usually respond? My guess:
I'll put it on the list.
I'm willing to bet that many people don't actually have a list unless it's baked into a streaming service. But I'd also guess that many of the people watching a video like this are exactly that type of nerd.
Be it a treasured classic, a friend's recommendation, or a neat-looking gift set I saw on Tumblr, I have added so many things to my watch lists over the years that I eventually had to reorganize them just to break up the giant columns of text.
The reality is, I'm never going to finish this list. Life gets busy, I have other interests and obligations to tend to, and eventually, I'm not going to have the energy or mental fortitude to care.
No doubt my lists will continue to grow, but I'm no longer going to treat them as firm commitments. Their purpose instead will be to narrow down my choices from everything in existence to a much more manageable catalog. Time will pass, my cravings will change, sometimes I'll need to look things up to remember why I wanted to watch them in the first place. And should I decide I'm no longer interested in watching something, I'll delete it from the list.
For the rest of my list, I reserve the right to tackle it at my own pace.
I wish I could commit to starting new stuff within a week of adding it to my list, but it's usually months or years later. There are movies and shows I've kept on hold for over a decade because I'm just never quite in the right mood to watch them. Thinking I need to catch up on something makes a leisure activity feel like work, and I don't want that.
Lastly, I want my watch list to reflect my interests, not add a bunch of things to them just because they're popular or considered essential viewing.
In the past, I have felt somewhat compelled to watch both iconic classics and a healthy sample of modern releases. Yes, I legitimately wanted to expand my film-based education and keep up with popular culture. But part of me also recognized that doing these things ticked the boxes for being a so-called film buff. I felt like if I could do that, then my opinion as a reviewer deserved to be taken seriously.
At this point in my life, I don't want to stress out about failing to live up to a standard or not meeting an imaginary quota. My priority is to enjoy and engage with what I'm watching. Even with the gripes I've been expressing in this video, I recognize that watching so many films over the years has taught me a lot about the medium of film and my own preferences. That much I do not regret.
And because I've really enjoyed media that I was initially skeptical about, I try to balance knowing my personal taste with the willingness to try new things.
Of course, I do try to avoid watching garbage simply for the sake of giving it a chance, but every first viewing is a roll of the dice, even if the odds are in my favor. And not everything I watch can or should be a masterpiece.
When everyone's super, no one will be.
I've seen plenty of decent movies that I'm just not that interested in watching again. Other movies either fall short in a few areas or just don't click with me. And given enough time, especially if I've only seen it once, I might not remember a movie well enough to still have a clear opinion about it.
In that sense, what I'm watching is constantly informing me of what I like or don't like, as well as what sticks out in my mind.
Ideally, I'd like to remember the movies that had an impact on me, good or bad, and for the ones that didn't leave much of an impression to form a generic blob and fade into the back of my mind.
To that end, first impressions can be a good litmus test. If I watched a movie only once but still think fondly of it years later, that's a pretty good sign that it clicked with me.
But first impressions only go so far. I spent a lot of time watching movies just to try stuff out, and that's made it hard to ignore how many of them failed to leave a meaningful impact. And that isn't always because they were mediocre or bad, but because I was jumping from one movie to the next without giving it much thought sometimes.
As a result, the generic blob in my brain has gotten bigger over the years, and it will continue to do so unless I am more thoughtful about how I consume my media.
That means instead of building my yearly tally like a dragon hoards gold, I gotta savor the things that I enjoy the most. That could be through repeat viewings, reading or writing fanfiction, making videos, watching other people's videos, or sharing what I like with friends and peers.
And speaking of convenient segues...
At present, there are 68 episodes of Detective Reviews. In 40 of them, I'm joined by at least one friend or collaborator. Having extra eyes on a movie is nice because it gives me more perspective on the movie as a whole. Having a co-reviewer is also nice because I get to write banter into my scripts.
In short, making these videos is extra fun when other people are involved. The same can be said for watching movies.
Movies are primarily designed to amuse, engage, and thrill their audience. A good movie by yourself is still quite enjoyable, but a big part of artistic culture is sharing your reactions and perspective with other people, whether it's friends and family, a movie discussion club, or the internet.
And as YouTube review culture has been showing us for the last 2 decades, that doesn't just include the movies you like.
A couple summers ago, I co-hosted a watch party for Fire Breather, a TV movie based on comics about the half-human teenage son of a kaiju.
A neat concept with questionable execution, but the viewing experience was fantastic.
Roasting a movie with people is already a good time, but this group happened to include one of the few people on the planet that writes fanfiction about this movie.
Getting to talk to this person and digging into their writing made watching this otherwise bad movie into an experience worth remembering.
And that's really the best part of shared viewing. You get to watch a movie and make memories with people. The togetherness is fun even if the movie is disappointing.
Bringing it back to good movies now, I'm going to share a suggestion that may seem obvious, but gets taken for granted sometimes. You and your friends should watch each other's favorite movies together.
For one, sharing your interests is half the fun of having friends. Secondly, it could be a gateway to connecting with and understanding that friend in a brand new way.
But most of all, the simple joy of your friends having fun watching something that means so much to you, there is no feeling quite like it. No matter the type of media, there are multiple reasons why it's difficult to choose what I dig into next.
I have many options and only so much time in a day. For some reason, scrolling my phone is a difficult habit to break.
I never should have gotten rid of my flip phone.
I don't always know what I'm in the mood for, and my brain gets worked up about making the so-called correct choice. The box office, viewership numbers, and social media activity of today determines what gets greenlit or canceled tomorrow.
And I detest filtering through all of that when trying to make a choice. I'm not trying to curate algorithms or appease executives with my choices. I watch movies, play video games, listen to music, etc. because I want to enjoy these things. Because I'm trying to have fun.
And sometimes, having fun means exploring a classic TV show, watching a film's bonus features, getting really into some dude's concept musical, or finally playing a video game that I missed out on when I was a kid.
It can also mean ditching the sunk cost fallacy by dropping what doesn't keep me engaged.
I generally use the 3-episode rule to decide if I'll stick with new TV shows, but sometimes I'll get farther in and then decide I'm no longer interested. Since movies tell complete stories in shorter time frames, I'm usually okay sticking it out to the end. But technically, it's not against any rules to shut them off after only 15 minutes. And yes, I have done that before.
While there are many methods I can use to gauge my interest in something before watching it, I try not to overthink too much because the final checkpoint is almost always the same.
Feel, don't think. Use your instincts.
This goes beyond a surface-level assessment of the premise or advertisements. Usually, I get drawn in by a variable that's difficult to quantify, something that gets me thinking,
I got a really good feeling about this.
Whether I'm confident in my choice or taking a leap of faith, I'm always hoping for the same thing. That magic moment where I realize I'm enjoying myself.
During this introspection, I've reflected on times in my past where curiosity, anticipation, and enthusiasm weren't bogged down by me thinking too much. I would see a movie trailer. I wouldn't question the excitement I felt. I would simply start counting down the days until I could watch that movie.
Wanting to recapture that feeling of wonder is a big part of why nostalgia is such a powerful emotion. But the reality is, in many ways, big and small, I've changed, and I can't just snap my fingers to activate the mindset I had when I was a kid, or even the reviewer I was 10 years ago.
While there's plenty of wisdom to be found in the past, moving forward requires understanding the person that I am now, and what that person needs.
It's taken time and a bit of practice, but I'm relearning to trust that my gut will tell me whether or not I'm having fun.
There's so much to see, and so little time. And for too long, I've used that as an excuse to ravenously seek out new experiences while barely ever looking back.
From now on, I want it to be a reminder to watch what delights and engages me, review what gets me fired up, and to appreciate the stuff that connects with me in a truly special way. Holy crap, it's done! To my subscribers, new and old, thanks for being patient with me as I've worked on this video. Exploring this topic has been tricky, but also very cathartic. If you're experiencing similar frustrations, I hope this video has brought you one step closer to finding your way out of the brain fog. This is Detective Steve, signing off.